everybody, this is the Vikstrand. So the movie of today is 50 First Dates. This was in a sense the first real attempt by Adam Sandler to show another more serious side of himself. And while I can applaud that, and while I do like the idea of a more serious Sandler with a lot less yelling, the problem with this movie is that it is duller than 4 o'clock. It's probably the most boring movie he has ever done. It's not bad, it's just very boring and almost devoid of really good comedic moments. But what it is about, we shall see. This is 50 First Dates. Sandler plays a veterinarian who lives in Hawaii. His life is essentially as follows. He picks up tourists, he has short romances with them, and then when they leave his island, he starts with a new one. And he, is almost allergic to long-term commitments and relationships and stuff like that, but because he just takes the day as it comes. This, in a sense, feels like every Adam Sandler character that he has ever played. But one day, after some boat-related chicanery, he meets a woman played by Drew Barrymore, and something happens to him, and he kind of feels something different for her than, the other airheads that he used to bang that, shows up at his doorstep and stuff like that. So he asks her out on a date, but then when he comes to pick her up, the next day, she has no memory of him and just tells him to fuck off. And he discovers later that she is suffering from a special case of amnesia. Now, this form of amnesia is actually true. There are people with this type of conditions. So it is essentially like this. 1 year ago, she was in a car accident, and after that, she cannot form any new memories. She can remember everything up until the car accident, but everything afterward is a blur. She only remembers what happens during this day, and the next day everything is just clean swept. It is essentially the same thing as the movie Memento, just not good. This of course makes it impossible for her to have any relationships, because she cannot remember that she likes or dislikes this guy or not. But Adam Sandler is convinced that if he tries hard enough, if he puts the effort in and makes every date with her as the first date, they will essentially have the 51st dates. He essentially treats every day like he's trying to win her heart for the first time. He thinks that if he can do that and he will show enough commitment, she will be able to form new memories. Stop it, Adam Sandler. Relationships cannot work in that way. You will be worn out after 1 year or something like that. It doesn't work like that. After a while, every relationship plateaus out, no matter how intense they started. And so we have that. But the thing is that this is a romantic comedy with not that much comedy, because we don't have the juvenile, over-the-top Adam Sandler humor, because he's trying something new. He's trying to be more serious. There is really nothing left for us to care about, because the story with them is not that interesting. And even though Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore have some pretty good chemistry together, they cannot quite make this work. And her blank stare and his, teddy bear affection just makes me a little bit, oh Jesus, can we move along? And the movie is too fucking long, by the way. Usually a romantic comedy relies heavily upon having memorable side characters that are much more interesting and much more funny than the actual protagonist in this movie, but they don't really have that either. What they have is her brother, which for some reason is a jacked up, juiced Sean Astin, who is this bodybuilder guy who's kind of dumb. By the way, Sean Astin is Sam from Lord of the Rings, which is weird. To my knowledge, this is the only high-profile role he had after Lord of the Rings. Why didn't he get a big movie career? That's weird. Anyway, so the movie moves us along pretty nicely, and things happen, even though it's very boring and very dull. But then the ending happened, which I was very, very annoyed by, because I would have been totally fine with having a sugar-coated nonsense ending or a very dark, very grim ending a la Uncut Gems or something like that, but they went with the middle options. It just felt like a big old compromise, and I just was so annoyed by the whole thing and felt that there were so many questions and so many loopholes that left. I was like, huh? What? It was very deflating and I hated it. Should you see 50 First Dates? No, I don't think so. Adam Sandler has done far worse things to the cinematic world, but those movies are so bad that I can at least yell at the screen because I'm so angry with him, and because I hate his characters, or because I hate the story or anything like that, or because it is very, very predictable. In this case, this is a weird little, in the middle of things, because it is so boring and it is so dull and it is so mundane that I don't really care. And because he cannot even get a reaction out of me, I really can't recommend this movie. It's very boring, it's very dull, really nothing happens in this movie. Is it a terrible movie? No, but it is a pretty lame and pretty bad and pretty underwhelming romantic comedy. The actors do what they can, but essentially this is a very skippable movie. Is it unfair to give this movie 19 points? Because I think it is a well-made, well-produced, well-shot movie, but the thing is that I don't care. It is filled with uninteresting, lame and bland characters, and when we don't have yelling Adam Sandler, we have sort of more normal Adam Sandler, it's just pretty uninspiring. I will give the movie some credit for actually having some nice and inventive visual storytelling, but apart from that, there isn't really anything going on here. So I'll see you next time for Well So instead of viewing Well Such and Such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.